We also have a long-running joke about people's opinions on water chestnuts that that we'll sometimes just say and see what happens, but everybody kind of passes over it, and no one ever makes mention of it again. And so Joe and I started off the show with that, and no one ever even I think people see it and they went, "Water chestnuts."
Is this something I should know about? I'm just gonna pretend like I know what's going on.
Mark doesn't like them. He thinks they have no place in a stir fry, but I'm fine. I'm different.
I'm pro water chestnut. I think they add a nice crunch.
Well, look at that. We run a gamut. Mark hates them. I'm in the middle. Chelsea likes them.
Look, and I'm not going to throw around the fact that I'm half Asian, but I'm going to right now. With my mom being Filipino, growing up with a lot of Asian inspired cooking, people just were throwing water chestnuts out there and almost like coasters. And I'm like, why are we doing this? We're better than this, everybody.
We're better than this.
There's no taste in the chestnut. It's just static for your mouth.
It's about the crunch. Would you want that?
Yeah, it's texture.
It's the LaCroix of stir fry. Okay, you don't need it.
Oh my gosh,
I love LaCroix. Come at me all day. I'll defend these things.
All right, I'm gonna lick the eyebrows. Well, all right, let's do this.
Well, getting back to more of our regularly scheduled program here. Welcome to Digital Dissection, a nerd podcast where three friends take a closer and possibly unnecessary look at more than just what we've been eating, but our favorite properties. Today, we get to welcome someone who has been writing for some of our favorite characters over the years. Characters like Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and currently, she's even the lead writer for the ongoing Harley Quinn series. I've also heard she's a pretty good fighter and hockey player. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie Phillips.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you with us. Looking at your huge and really, really impressive resume of especially DC Comics has been a big favorite of mine since I was a kid, Superman always being my favorite. I was happy that when I heard Mark had your name come up because I definitely have the Red and Blue series, which you recently wrote for, and absolutely loved your story. I think it's My Best Friend Superman or My Friend Superman. Yeah.
That was so much fun to write. That was really fun.
It looked like it. I love the characters that you made in that. It focuses on a little girl who starts with a show and tell with looks like a kind of a random piece of junk, and she's telling her class that she got it from her best friend Superman, and no one believes her. And it kind of seems like, I don't know, she. I guess before I go into the character, how did you come up with her?
I think one of my favorite things about Superman is this empathy, and the coolest thing to me is alien, another planet, all these incredible powers, one of the most powerful superheroes in the DC universe, but he would absolutely make the time for a little kid. And it's the coolest thing about him. In my mind, we did something a little similar with Superman Man of Tomorrow, where he helps someone who is trying to get help for his mother who's dying of cancer, and they Superman is I have a limit, I can't cure cancer, but he's really empathetic and there for the person that's going through this with his mom. And so I really like stories that are super grounded for Superman, even though he's this giant cosmic character. He's the best. He represents the best that we could be. And I love those personal touches, whether it's somebody suffering in a hospital or this little girl who's being teased. And it's just, it's an element that I was really excited to kind of bring to that story.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm in the same boat, because for as much as Superman always just kind of his physical abilities are what seem to always be the focus on him, when you really look at that human element, that's what makes the character. And you did an awesome job bringing this out in your story. And now you're writing Harley Quinn, a vastly different character from Superman. Well, how long have you been with Harley Quinn? As a fan, and how have you kind of, I don't know, like, how are you helping make the character grow? Because she is someone who definitely is taking the DC universe by storm. She's showing up in so many titles. She is all over the place now. And like, to DC's benefit, because Harley Quinn is a fantastically fun character.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you, I really experienced her in the animated series, and that was really cool. Like kind of growing up with those characters.
Hmm.
That is the thing that kind of turned me on to comic books. And I think that means that Harley is turning 30 next year, which is pretty cool. So she's a slightly younger character actually in the
Hmm.
DC universe. Like, this year I participated, I think, in 3 or 4 of the 80th anniversary anthologies, and it's like, wow, like 80, that's really incredible to work on characters like Wonder Woman or Green Arrow that have been around for this long. And then
Yeah.
Harley is so much younger. And I think that the really cool thing there is because there's so less people that have like worked on this character, she hasn't been around as long. Like you said, she
Hmm.
really is still like evolving and growing. And
Yeah.
I get to really contribute to that. So, I don't think I'm taking something and like creating an all new Harley
Hmm.
Quinn, but for me growing up with this character, there have definitely been some things about Harley that like this is what I gravitate towards in the character. Like I'm really interested in different facets like her intelligence, her degrees. Like I have a
Yeah.
PhD too. Like obviously that's something I'm going to gravitate towards.
Hmm.
So my Harley might seem a little different from other iterations, but those things have always been there. They're just things
Yeah.
that I'm highlighting,
Hmm.
bringing to the forefront about her because I really like the way that they appeared in other instances with other creators. Like Jimmy and
Hmm.
Amanda were incredible. Obviously, I love Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. So kind of getting to contribute to I guess you would maybe even say it's a short list of creators because she is so much younger. Like
Hmm.
that's a really cool honor, and like getting to have such a long run. We're finishing up year one right now, and headed into 2022 with another year of Harley, and that's really cool to get such a long time with one character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it when you can like take a character from a different angle and bring something different that maybe we're not all used to seeing. So like, I feel like so much of Harley's story tends to surround like her relationship with the Joker.
Mhm.
So when you see other parts of her explored, that just adds so much to her that is so, I mean, again, I don't want to say it's so much more interesting, but it
Mhm.
it makes things more exciting when you're not reading the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, I feel like we've had those arcs of like the
Hmm.
post Joker breakup. And
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
really, the only time I want him referenced in this at all was, moving out of Joker War. It was
Hmm.
really hard to not have that play a role because it's so pivotal to what was happening in Gotham at the time we started working on Harley. And of course, she's helping like former Joker henchmen. So, like, that comes up, but we
Yeah.
really I've been really cautious about really keeping out any of the like I'm still working on getting over this person because,
Yeah.
and now that we're far enough away from Joker War, I feel okay, like hopefully not really spoiling this, but she tried to kill him at the
Hmm.
end of Joker War, and for in
Yeah.
my mind that's like, okay, we're kind of done with this.
Yep.
Not that anybody can ever be like seriously done with trauma, but I wanted
Mhm,
to
Yeah.
really reframe how we were looking at it. This isn't Joker's ex. This
mhm.
is, her most recent relationship, and what's going on in her life has to do with Poison Ivy. So I wanted to reframe that rhetoric and really put it on, this is Poison Ivy's girlfriend. This isn't the Joker's ex. Like
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Mhm.
change that language.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah.
it for me the word that like pops in my head a lot is just care, right? Like there's a lot of care that goes into how you explore a character, and when we're inundated with so many different media sources now for characters, especially interpretations of them, I think we run into the overexposure to the cinematic universes, and
Mhm.
this isn't to knock them at all. I love the movies,
Mhm.
but we don't get to explore these aspects that you do, that you write out. And
Yeah.
when you just see it in a movie, yeah, you get a snapshot of that character in action, but you don't always get into some of the granular elements that I think are really really important. And those are the things that you typically lose in the DC films, because
Mhm.
mostly because we're focused a lot on digitally altered facial hair. And so some of the things that we probably shouldn't care so much about. But seriously, that's why I think comics is a medium, and especially with the stories that you tell, is that we do get a chance to explore these things, like the stuff that maybe doesn't get as much airtime on a full-length feature film, unfortunately. So, I mean, just kudos to you for providing those multi-directional views. I really love it.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a ton of fun to write, and really getting a lot of creative control as we kind of restarted that ongoing, which is another really cool thing. Like, I'm not filling in on an ongoing that's already been, issue 700 something. Like, we started at issue 1, with Riley and I kind of in the room, like, what do we want her to wear? Like, obviously, we wanted it to come right out of Joker War, so it felt really natural for readers and like where she's at coming back to Gotham. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. Like, to be on an ongoing, to have it be Harley Quinn, to be at #1, like, those are all really awesome things. Like, I'm honored. Like, I know this Harley community is really active, and I'm like really glad that they've accepted me in this. And I'm sorry, my cat has just found the loudest toy that he has decided now is a perfect time.
Oh no, it's great. This actually is perfect because I was going to bring up pets soon anyway. So
perfect.
Yeah,
you read your mind.
Isn't it about time we talk about me?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's not an episode of the show if a pet doesn't have a say. Like, I muted as soon as I heard my dog start to bark at my neighbors, and I don't think he was picked up. But yeah, we always need a pet interruption.
Oh my god, we have so Joe has a corgi named Sully, and I refer to it as a Sully pop every time he barks over there, just like in the other guys. when they do,
oh my god,
when they do the desk pop. And I've got a black cat named Ruby who occasionally like she basically she might as well just throw like a roll of quarters in the air every time she meows, because that's how loud it is. So so do not feel bad. We love pets, but yeah, I'll let Joe take it back up though.
Oh, sorry. No, don't apologize at all. This is fantastic. And I mean, looking even at like places you've worked, you've been with Oni Press, Dark Horse, Marvel, Image, Top Cow. What's it like really running the gamut of being able to write for the biggest names in the comic industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, like, working your way up to that. When you, or at least for me, like, writing and putting out my first comic book, it's like, you don't really know where that's going to go, if anywhere. Like, maybe that's it. Maybe that's the only thing I ever do. And, of course, like, I could keep self-publishing and things like that. But, that first thing I wrote got picked up by a publisher. And then, I've been really fortunate from publishing that with Black Mask, and then going to Aftershock and still having an ongoing relationship with Aftershock that's really positive, and then kind of building from there and working with new publishers, meeting new editors. I'm also really fortunate that I have great editorial relationships. Like, that's really important to me, and I get really excited for those collaborations. So it's really cool to kind of grow that network, or even as editors or like moving companies, I get to still go with people that I'm really comfortable working with and have like a really good collaborative relationship. And yeah, it's led to really cool things, like working on Rick and Morty, a couple of projects that are currently unannounced, that have been just really good relationships with artistic teams, with editorial. Like, I really like the collaborative element, so that's always something that I'm excited about when I get to go work with a new publisher.
Yeah, really cool.
When it comes to like with writing, like is that something that you kind of like always enjoy doing, like from a young age, or how did you even get into comic book writing to begin with?
Kind of like an odd route.
Those are our favorite routes.
Odd routes are the most interesting and fun routes ever.
My PhD is in rhetoric and composition, and while I was in grad school, like I've done like a lot of academic publishing, publishing in like scientific communication journals, like stuff that, like, interestingly, you can go and like track reads or is behind a paywall for some ridiculous amount of money. Like, I've done research on like genetically modified mosquitoes, and it's behind some $40 paywall, and it's like, I don't even expect my own mother to go, like, my mom who wants to support everything, like I'm not going to go let her buy access to that. Like that's just it's weird. And so you're with this really limited audience, and the kind of stuff that I was writing, like I gravitate towards being more creative. That's what I like, and that's how I engage with content. And I think I remember at some point writing an article. I think it was about the genetically modified mosquitoes. I had put some like weird opening in there that you wouldn't usually see. It was a bit creative, and the journal told me they wouldn't publish it like that. They just said like, that's not academic writing. Actually, the comment I got, which is my favorite comment ever, was cute but unnecessary. And I was like,
my God.
I felt that. Like,
put that on a resume. Come on.
I'm
Writing
sorry.
is cute but unnecessary.
This
That's
is
amazing.
too easy to read. If you could just go ahead and
I'm just thinking of some crotchety like academic who looks like J. Jonah Jameson. And he goes, I'm not gonna put it on the front page.
Exactly. And Chelsea, you nailed it. Like it's too easy to read. Like they didn't want important content to be that accessible, which in my mind was like a huge turnoff from that form of writing, because it's like, well, then why am I doing it? If I can't make my ideas and my research accessible to large audiences, both in terms of like money, topic, tone, just how it's written, like that just wasn't doing it for me. Like I was just like not super interested or engaged anymore in what I was doing. And I actually took like a semester off from grad school at some point because I was on track. I was just like, I'm going to get the master's, get the PhD, be a tenured professor, and like that's it. And around that time I was like, well, maybe that's not it. So I went to a comic convention with a friend of mine that runs like kind of like grading and signature services, and kind of ended up meeting and talking with a lot of comic professionals, got a lot of really good advice. And I think the best advice ended up just being like, well, why aren't you writing comics? And I never thought of that before. So like I had always loved them. I loved being in that world. I felt very happy being there and talking with people that I really respected about the medium and about the characters. It was really exciting to me. And yeah, just like that one question, like, why aren't you writing comics? And I went home and I was like, cool, I'm going to write a comic. Like, I don't know what this entails, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find an artist. And yeah, that became my first published comic at Black Mask, Devil Within.
Oh, that's awesome.
So cool.
See, that's a really cool way to start it off, because the only question anybody's ever asked me is, why aren't you guarding a bridge and demanding people give you fish heads to pass? So I mean that's really cool. It's reminiscent though of voice actor Roger Craig Smith, who was a stand-up comedian, or trying to be, and then someone after a set goes to him, you know what, why don't you try voice acting? And now he's got a resume a mile long, so that is really cool, that sometimes it can be a chance encounter, or that like you mentioned, that maybe a path that you didn't quite see at first. And so always be on the lookout, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's not that I didn't like actually as a kid I would draw and write comics all the time, and I had a series about like a werewolf, and I think my dad still has them, and I couldn't even write. My dad would like fill in the dialogue for me. So like cool. I've always loved comics. It was just one of those things that I don't think somebody had ever presented to me as a career. And even then, like, the people that get to make this a career, like I'm really fortunate that this is my career. Like that's still wild to me. And I know how lucky I am to be doing that. And I take it very seriously, like the role I get to, present these characters that I've always loved. And, I know that I have a responsibility to do right by those characters when I get to write them. So yeah, I'm really fortunate that my job is writing cool people punching things. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in that respect, like, we're lucky to have you as a writer, because like you said, you're fun. You've loved the art of making comics since you were a kid, and like you're not some like a stiff writing science journals. Like you're too much fun to be doing that. Like you could, not that it's all bad, but yeah, no, we're so like, I think the industry is very fortunate to have you in it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
On the art of the industry, if we were able to actually like slap you into a comic book, because you have some martial arts experience with Muay Thai. If you could
Yeah.
train, hang out, spar any comic character of your choosing, who would you go for?
Wildcat.
Ooh, nice.
I have a really, really soft spot for Ted Grant. Like, I just love the curmudgeonly
Mhm.
boxer. Like, I don't know why. Like, I feel like it's such an odd like pick for me. And then like
Mhm.
it also just feels really cool that that was actually the first DC character I ever got to write was Wildcat, with
That's cool.
Riley, who's now on the ongoing Harley. So it just like I always liked Wildcat, but it really solidified my love for him even more that like that was my intro to DC, my intro to the relationship I have now with Riley Rossmo, the ongoing artist on Harley. And yeah, so that was like a really important story getting to work on Wildcat. And I would probably lose if I fought Ted Grant, but you know, I'd give it a shot.
Well, we are definitely in your corner. And
Well, thank you.
yeah, an awesome pick with Wildcat. Like, I love it. Like, I feel like as soon as like fighters would come up, like it's almost instantly Batman. Which nothing wrong with Batman, other than he's in everything. Good for him. He's like the face of DC. But
He
yeah,
really is.
it is great to hear. Just again, like you have such a vast experience with it with characters and how much you thoroughly enjoy the characters themselves, and that just shows in your writing.
Oh yeah, I appreciate like I'm a fan first. Like I'm a giant nerd. I love these characters. I love these like story arcs and going back through and just like
Mhm.
currently I'm doing a reread of Mark Waid and Waringo's Fantastic Four because it was incredible and yeah, I just went and like bought all of it. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of this medium and the characters and I get super excited being asked to write them. So yeah, I mean it's fun.
Mhm. Is there any character that I mean, because granted, like there's so many comic book characters out there.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone that you would like want to write or look forward to being able to write in the future?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I mean, I definitely look forward to doing more with Ted Grant. I always think of him as like a really underutilized character, but I know
Mhm.
that his fan base is probably pretty niche, so I get it. I look forward to hopefully doing more with him. I wrote Green
Mhm.
Arrow in his 80th anthology, but
Ah.
actually Green Arrow is my favorite DC character, so that's another one that I'd love to do more with him.
Mhm.
I really like Laura Kinney at Marvel. I think she's super cool and amazing as Wolverine. And I think like she brought me back to Marvel as a reader. Like I just there was a
Ah.
period of time that I was
Mhm.
just reading DC like as a teenager.
Mhm.
And yeah, her like the X-23 books absolutely like brought me back in to like being a very devoted Marvel reader. So I credit her with being like,
Mhm.
I just got really excited about her, like this young, moody, like emo girl with
Yeah.
claws. Like
Mhm.
I don't know what's not to love there.
No, it's fun. And did you saw Logan, right?
Yes, oh, so
Yeah, wasn't
good.
she so great in Logan? Oh my
It's
god.
so
Mhm.
good. Yeah, I don't know why she has not yet been given her own feature film, and I really hope that
Mhm.
happens because she was great.
It's probably because they're still cleaning up all the blood from that movie.
Absolutely true.
Like,
Yep. Fox is
like,
like, still working, guys. Like, we
yeah.
can't. We gotta clean this up.
Can we shoot the next one yet? It's like I'm still picking stuff out of my teeth, guys. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, give me a little bit of time. I think what actually may have been the reason for it, this is just me speculating. It could be that consistent rights issue
Yeah.
that the properties had, right? Like over the last 25, 30 years, when
Mhm.
Marvel decided to starburst all of these individual characters out to different studios. I'm wondering if that could be it. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a
absolutely.
good
I'd love to
point.
see her on screen again. Yeah.
Mhm.
We've asked this question a couple times on our show with different creators, whether it's writers, actors, because there are some of those unexplored career paths that we haven't quite gone down yet. Are there any aspects of creating comic books, or maybe even beyond, that you've wanted to try that we haven't quite gotten into yet?
I suppose so. I mean, like I'm always up for writing in other mediums. I have a little bit here and there as well. But I really do consider myself a comic book writer, and I
Mhm.
know I know that there are companies out there that really like using comics as like a way to generate IP and transition that
Mm,
into other mediums. And like I'm not against that, because in some ways, I think that it's really cool that comics can gain enough popularity to then go on to reach other audiences, and maybe some of those audiences will, I mean, this is like the most hopeful thing I can say, like maybe they'll come back and like dip back into this medium. Like that would be really cool. But at the same time, I write a comic book to write a comic book, and I don't really think about it in terms of like I'm writing this and can like see this on the screen or something. I really try to think about it in terms of like what it looks like in comic book form and on the comic book page.
mhm.
I mean, I do have some stuff in the works right now that's not a comic book, and it's really interesting. Like it's a weird muscle to flex and do other
Yeah.
things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it, especially like, the first time I saw something animated that I wrote. That was a really cool experience, because it's like, I wrote this whole intro with, a gunfight and almost anime-esque in terms of the animation. And then I got like the animatic back and I watched it and I was like, holy crap, like this thing I wrote, like comic art is absolutely incredible. It was just like a different experience to see this person like flying across my screen and dodging bullets. And it was it's a different kind of writing, and it's just as
Mm-hmm.
exciting as getting art back in like my inbox, but it was it's still new to me. So it was really neat.
I had an interesting thought because, as you mentioned, seeing an adaptation of one of your works, I didn't know if there's anyone out there, whether a director or producer, movie creator. Is there anyone out there that you would love to see adapt your work into like a feature?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Best answer.
I mean, I definitely have like directors that I feel like I'd want to learn something from. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really love and I'm drawn to anything Dennis Villeneuve has done. I feel
Mhm,
like with a lot of his movies, I can rewatch something like Sicario 100 times and
mhm,
find something new. And actually, I think it translates really well to sequential storytelling. Like thinking about, there's an opening in Sicario where they go through like the suspected like drug house, and they keep showing little images of different things in the house, like one shot close up of the window as like
Mm-hmm.
people are storming into the house and just dust kind of kicks up off the window, and it's like one little still shot that tells you something about the way the scene is unfolding. And I think he has such a cool way of showing these small moments that help enhance the scene. And I really do think that
mhm.
that plays a role in any kind of storytelling, but really it's a good
Mm-hmm.
lesson for sequential storytelling too. So I'm a big fan of Dennis Villeneuve. Um, yeah, I would like to do a lot of that myself, because I
Yeah.
am way too type A, I think, to like hand things over to somebody and like hope they do it the way I perceive. Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'd be the most annoying Leslie Knope possible and just be like, what are you doing now? You need some help with that? You need me to just do it? Okay.
See, you're right now. I'm having like flashbacks to my mom's kitchen because that's kind of how learning from my mom cooking was like.
Oh God, yes.
Where I'm doing something, she's like, "Hey, let me just add that butter real quick for you.
Right.
Just get in there." Sassy mom, she knows what she's doing. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, I'm suddenly flashbacks of like my dad and trying to work on a new car, and I'm holding the flashlight wrong and crying, and everything's gone wrong. Another thing I did with my dad that did not result in crying was watch a lot of old westerns growing up, which
Oh,
you
yeah.
are a pretty fan of. Do you find any of your writing or your work influenced by kind of like that old west style storytelling?
I think so. I mean, like, actually, Villeneuve, like, recently made a comment about, like, a lot of Marvel movies having this really similar format, and I don't know if he meant
Mm,
it as an insult, like, I'm not in his brain. I don't know that I see that as necessarily, like, a bad thing. I love the
Mm-hmm.
Marvel movies, and I think that it's
Yeah.
really akin to, like, the popularity of Westerns. Like, let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest, like, if you watch enough Westerns, there's a lot of formulaic things happening in Westerns, and again, I
mhm,
don't think it's bad. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
features to westerns that you recognize and know are a part of it, and if you like Westerns, like you come to love those elements when they show up, just the way that I think we do with Marvel movies. Like there are some formulaic things, and when they show up, I'm very happy. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that's what I'm there for. I know what
Mhm.
I'm in for, and I enjoy them immensely. So absolutely, you know, I'd say things like Unforgiven,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like some of that stuff actually, specifically Unforgiven, I feel like influences a lot of stuff I do in terms of like the character dynamics are really fascinating there, the way people present themselves, and
Mhm.
the way that movie kind of played with that format a little bit that you're expecting and kind of subverted it was really interesting, especially for the time it came out. So and I'm notoriously obsessed with Tombstone, which isn't
Oh
quite
yes.
it's
Mhm.
not super old,
Yeah.
but I just really love Doc Holliday in that
Oh,
film.
yes.
And
He's everybody's Huckleberry. We love Doc Holliday.
of course. I collect Doc Holliday artwork, so I've
Oh, cool.
Oh my God, I love
yeah,
it.
I've gotten a little ridiculous with my tombstone. Like I'm cool with making that my thing. Like, you know, if an artist is drawing me something, that's kind of become my go-to. So
See, I'm a huge fan of Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, and not just because he's sweating all the time. Joe and Chelsea know that I'm like a professional sweater. That's just what I do.
He sweats.
Yeah, but I mean, oh God, yes. As you mentioned that, I'm just like sitting in my chair going, "Oh my God, I love Tombstone."
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, there's just so many like really, really good ones.
Mhm.
Once Upon a Time in Once Upon a Time in the West is just like absolutely incredible. Like I've been putting together a list to like go rewatch things like that. High Plains Drifter, like
Yes.
oh man, like I need to rewatch some stuff. But yeah, it's like a really cool place to go get awesome
Mhm.
ideas and inspiration, even if you're not writing a Western, like taking some of that, which obviously was wildly successful for someone like Star Wars. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at The
Yes.
Mandalorian is obviously just one big Western in space.
Oh,
Right.
totally.
Yeah. Mhm.
Stephanie, you might agree with me on this, where when you look at elements of Westerns, it's contrast is what makes them stand out so much, whether it's
Mhm.
a fight between good and evil. Sometimes it's as much as someone, literally riding against a sunset where you can see movement against a bright picture. Or,
Right.
I mean, or it can be as simple as, Russell Crowe whistling in a train and he's going to get his horse and escape.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love 310 to Yuma. Oh,
310 was fun. Yeah.
every time I see Ben Foster in front of that fire and he's just yelling, "We're going to contention." And you're like, I'm like, you know what? I'm not a bad guy, but I want to be part of this posse. I want to go. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
but then there's that one guy who hates posses. You got to be careful.
Oh, I know. Once again, this contrast: people who love posses and those who don't.
Yeah.
Right.
What side do you want to be on?
We'll make a Venn diagram of that and people who like and dislike their chestnuts. See what the overlap is.
Yep, Mark is there, Chelsea is here, and then I'm right in the middle.
Man.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a ton of fun. Usually what we do the last little bit of the show is we let our guests let us know where we can find them. We can definitely look forward to seeing you working on continuing with Harley Quinn. So if you let us know where we can find you on socials, and maybe even one thing you'd love to see Harley do as she continues to grow.
Cool. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Steph_Smash, along with Harley, which is continuing through 2022 as well. In November, our Wonder Woman series launches, which I'm super excited for.
Nice.
And on the same day in November, we have an Amazon Comixology original series launching, myself and Peter Krause, which is a completely unique, our own thing, not IP characters.
Oh, exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called We Only Kill Each Other. And if you go to my Twitter, I've linked to a website that has a news feed kind of thing. So there's a lot more info about all those books there as well. And yeah, I'm pretty much only on Twitter because I forget other social media exists. So
That's probably for the best anyway.
Yep.
So.
All right. Again, thank you so much. This has been great. Everyone, please go check her out. Check her socials. Social, I guess, just the one. Read Harley, and we can't wait to see, who only the other person is that you'll be killing, because you only kill each other.
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show.